A woman, in order to prove that ghosts and spirits do not exist in the world, took a camera and lay down in a coffin with a corpse, because there was a terrifying local legend that said that people who had committed heinous crimes will endure divine torture in their graves, and this recently deceased wealthy man was a scoundrel who frequently disrupted others' relationships during his lifetime. As the surroundings plunged into complete darkness, Mary quickly turned on the camera to record, to verify whether divine punishment truly existed. By the time midnight rolled around, Mary's heart was pounding in her throat, fearing that something terrible might suddenly happen. Fortunately, the only sounds in the coffin were her own breathing and the putrid stench of the wealthy man's corpse. Nothing else seemed amiss, so Mary held her breath and spent the night with the corpse, until the next day, when her brother, who had been waiting above, opened the coffin. Mary finally let out a sigh of relief. The first thing she did after coming out was to turn on the camera, and she thus verified the claim that bad people suffer torture after death is pure nonsense. Mary then rushed to the TV station to explain to the world that ghosts and spirits do not exist in this world. However, just as she was about to release last night's footage to the public, the large screen displayed a dark, crowded scene. It was not the scene she had filmed at the cemetery last night. To figure out what was going on, Mary quickly found her brother to ask about the situation. Sure enough, she discovered that her brother had swapped the memory card in the camera. It turned out that her brother didn't want Mary to dwell on whether ghosts and gods existed, because if the video were released, it could very well anger the followers of the deity, and lead to the same tragic outcome as when they were children. Back then, the brother and sister had a happy family. But one day, a sudden tragedy struck. On that day, the bakery that their parents ran was suddenly visited by a devotee of a deity. He had done many bad things in the past, so in order to avoid being tortured by the gods after death, he decided to commit suicide on the street, hoping to gain the gods' forgiveness. Mary's parents saw this, and kindly stepped forward to dissuade him. But the next second, the bomb in the other person's backpack suddenly exploded, and just like that, the brother and sister watched helplessly as their parents were blown to pieces. And because of this, Mary came to believe that believing in gods was a joke. One should enjoy life while alive. Thinking about afterlife matters before death is simply foolish behavior. After verifying that bad people do not suffer punishment after death, Mary cried into her parents' photo that night. Little did she know, it was precisely because she had spent the night with the wealthy man in the coffin that an eerie incident occurred that night. The sound that came was that of the deceased wealthy man. This instantly sent Mary into a fit of trembling. Mary, who worked as a caregiver at the nursing home, thought she was hallucinating, so she mustered her courage and went to the room where the wealthy man had lived. To verify her suspicions, she slowly walked behind the curtains.
Медсестра Сита!
However, just as she turned her head, the shadow had vanished again. Immediately afterward, an old woman suddenly appeared at the door. It turned out that this old woman was also a resident of the nursing home. She said she didn't know what her husband and the caregiver were doing in the room. Upon hearing this, Mary quickly went to her husband's room. Sure enough, she found her colleague inside. Seeing that the situation had been exposed, the old man hurriedly explained that it was a misunderstanding.